This video tutorial will provide a walkthrough on how to update the 2019 US data in Business Analyst Enterprise to the newly released 2020 data. First, we'll take a look at how to download the data on the Esri website. Then we'll show how to extract the downloads. And lastly, how to deploy the updated data to the services. Let's first locate the downloads for the 2020 US data on the Esri website. Let's click on My Organizations, Downloads, and search for Business Analyst. Let's find ArcGIS Business Analyst Enterprise with 2020 US data. The version number is listed as 10.8.1. However, this data update can also be deployed to previous versions such as 10.7.1 and 10.8. Let's click on View Downloads. At the top of the list, we see our 10.8.1 software downloads, and below that we'll find the data and content downloads. There are three data sets that need to be downloaded. First, the US 2020 data pack is split into two 7-zip archive files due to its size. So download number 1 and 2 here, and we'll walk through how to extract them later. The geocoding data is a single zip file. Let's download this one as well. And the street network data is also split into two 7-zip archive files because of its size. So let's download both number 1 and 2 for these as well. These will take some time to download, and then after that, we'll take a look at how we can extract these files. Now that our downloads have finished, let's start by extracting the demographic data pack. So this file is split into two 7-zip archive files, and we'll need 7-zip to extract it. 7-zip is a free software download and can be used on any computer without needing to be registered. So if it's not installed already, let's do a quick search for 7-zip and click on the link to download. With 7-zip installed, let's start extracting our data. So even though the archive for the demographic data pack is in two files, only the first file with the extension of 001 needs to be extracted. The second part of the archive with the 002 extension will automatically be extracted along with it. The same is true of the streets data. Only the first file with the 001 extension needs to be extracted. The second part of the archive with the 002 extension will automatically be assembled. The geocoding data is just a single zip file that can be extracted with 7-zip or with the built-in Windows extractor. After extracting all of the data, we'll end up with three folders. One folder called GE_datapack_USA 2020 R1.zip. This is the demographic data pack that we'll deploy to the GeoEnrichment server. A second folder called streets data, and a third folder called geocoding data. Now let's move on to deploying the data updates to Business Analyst Enterprise. Let's start with updating the data in the GeoEnrichment server. With the GeoEnrichment Data Management Wizard, we can easily update this data with just a few clicks. There's no need to remove the 2019 data first either. The wizard will take care of that for us. We'll need access to the machine where the GeoEnrichment server is installed in order to access the wizard. In the Start menu, let's search for GeoEnrichment and find the GeoEnrichment Data Management utility. We'll provide the Portal Administrator account and click Next. Then we'll select Add Data Packs to the GeoEnrichment server and click Next. Let's click Add in the upper right-hand corner, and from here we can browse to our new data pack, the GE Data Pack USA 2020 R1.zip file. As a best practice, we should copy this file locally to the machine, but it can also be browsed to through a network share. Let's click Next and notice that the action is set to replace the 2019 data with the 2020 data. Now let's click Install, and the wizard takes care of the rest. This installation will take several hours, and it can vary depending on the hardware of the system. For example, if the data is being installed on a system with a solid-state drive, it will typically take 4 to 5 hours. If the data is being deployed to a system with a hard disk drive, it can take much longer, up to 12 hours in that case. When the data installation is done, the GeoEnrichment service will be automatically restarted and ready for use. As a quick test to make sure that the service is started, we can browse to the REST services directory in ArcGIS server and click on the World GeoEnrichment service. And at the countries endpoint, we should see that the default dataset ID is USA Esri 2020. Now let's move on to updating the routing services with the 2020 streets data. These services are needed for creating network service areas such as drive times and distances. The first thing to do is to update the data license for the street data. And starting with this data release, the SDLIC file can be downloaded from my Esri, whereas in previous years it was emailed by customer service. Let's click on My Organizations, Licensing, License Files, and here we should see license files related to Business Analyst and Street Map Premium. The data license can be installed using Pro by clicking on the Project tab, Licensing, and managing your data licensing. From here you can click Add and browse to the SDLIC file. The license can also be applied using a command line utility called datalic install if Pro isn't installed on the server. Let's walk through how to use this command line utility. From the Start menu, let's open a command prompt instance as an administrator and change the directory to the ArcGIS Server Program Files bin directory. And let's type the following command. We'll type datalic install.exe and then paste in the path to the SDLIC file, and then press enter. And we should see a message that the license was installed successfully. And now we're ready to publish the services. First, let's locate and delete the 2019 routing services in ArcGIS Server Manager. These services could have been published to the hosting server or the federated geo-enrichment server. We just need the data to be licensed on the machine and the network analyst extension to be authorized on the server. Here in the routing folder is where the previous services were published. So we'll want to delete these services since the publish routing services utility cannot overwrite them. The easiest thing to do is to just delete the entire routing folder, and this will delete all the services within the folder. Now let's publish the new services with the 2020 data. The Publish Routing Services tool is a command line utility that will publish all the routing services and automatically create items in the portal and register them as utility services. To run this utility, we'll need to open another command prompt instance from the Start menu, and let's run it as an administrator. Let's change the directory to the ArcGIS Server Program Files Tools directory, and then to the Publish Routing Services directory. In this directory, there's a batch file called Publish Routing Services, and we'll need to execute this batch file with a few parameters. These parameters are documented here in the setup guide, and the easiest thing to do is just copy the example usage command and modify the parameters. First, we'll change the server and portal parameters to point to the correct host names. Then we'll add our portal administrator username and password. We'll add the correct path to our network dataset. And finally, the path to a staging folder where the service definition files are created prior to publishing. This can be any folder. I named mine Routing SDs. So here's an example of what my command looks like with the modified parameters. Here's my server host, my portal host, portal username, password. Here's the path to my network dataset. We need to point this to the North America GDB /routing/routing ND and my staging folder. And this staging folder does need to be created beforehand. So let's copy this whole command and paste it into the command window and hit enter. And this will take about 15 minutes to publish all the services. When the tool finishes, we'll see a message that the services were published successfully. And we can do a quick check in ArcGIS Server Manager to make sure that there's a new routing folder. And inside this folder, we'll see those newly published services. We can also check the utility services in the portal settings. And for the routing services, we should see the URLs to each of the new portal items for those services. One additional thing we should do here is to do a quick restart of the World GeoEnrichment service. Restarting this service will help GeoEnrichment discover the new routing services and wire the capabilities together. And now finally, the last thing we'll need to do is to publish the updated US 2020 address locator as a geocoding service. This service helps with searching places and importing files with tables of addresses. We'll need ArcGIS Pro to share the locator as a service. In the catalog pane, let's make a folder connection to where the geocoding data resides. Let's expand the geocoding data for ArcGIS Pro folder, right-click on the locator, and add it to the project. If you see a red exclamation here, it means that your account needs to be provisioned with the StreetMap Premium North America extension. The section in the help guide for publishing the geocode service will provide more information on how to work past this. With the locator added to the project, let's click on the Share tab and expand the locator icon. If this is grayed out, make sure that you're signed into the portal from Pro. Click on Share Locator, and the Share Locator pane will open. Name the service anything you like. I'll name mine USA_geocoder_2020. Provide a summary and some tags. And make sure you have the desired server selected. This can be either the hosting server or the federated GeoEnrichment server. We just need to make sure that the ArcGIS StreetMap Premium North America extension is authorized on the server. This authorization is obtained from my Esri under My Organizations, Licensing, Authorizations. And if we search for Business Analyst, we'll see ArcGIS Business Analyst NA for server. The NA here means North America. Let's share the service with the ArcGIS Enterprise organization and analyze to see if there are any warnings. So we'll see that there's a warning about the locator being copied to the server. To avoid this, let's register the folder. On the Sharing tab, click on Data Stores and click on Add Folder. We'll name the folder US 2020 and add a tag and browse to the folder with our geocoding data. I have the data locally on my F drive, but this could also be a shared network location. And if that is the case, make sure the folder connection where you added the locator to your project also uses the same UNC path. With the folder registered, let's analyze again, and we'll see that that warning is gone. Under the Configuration tab, let's make sure that all of the operations are allowed. If any of the boxes here are unchecked, let's make sure to check them. And let's click Publish. This should only take a few moments if the data isn't being copied to the server. With the service published, let's go to our portal settings and add it as a geocoding utility service. At the bottom of the utility services page, we'll find geocoding. Let's click Add and add our new service. And we can remove the 2019 geocoder from the list of utility services as it's no longer needed. And we can delete that service from ArcGIS Server Manager. And that's it. All of the services are now updated. Let's open up the Business Analyst web application and check some of the workflows. From the portal homepage, let's open the app switcher and launch the BA web app from here. One of the first things we can check is the color-coded maps workflow. And in the data browser, we can see that the population variables are 2020. Let's search for an address to check the geocoding service. We'll search for the Esri campus here in Redlands. And now let's create a drive time site around this point to make sure that the routing services are working. This completes the tutorial. For reference, the setup guide has all of this information documented with screen caps and walkthroughs. Thanks for watching.